Well, hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Joanne, and yes, I've done another surprise live. I sort of have to do them when I can at the moment. So this is Dyer versus Christanthou and Porter. This is all crazy stuff. So I hope you'll bear with me because this is going to take us a while to get through. So this goes back to Joe Dyer versus Sue Christanthou, who's a lawyer for Christian Porter, over a conflict of interest. Hello, the Fox filing. And it was declared, hello, Angela, it was declared that Porter and Christanthou needed to pay the costs of Joanne Dyer of $430,200. Well, there was another filing put into court, and there has been another ruling. So let's have a look at that ruling. So this is like saga stuff. Let's just say Sue Christanthou not only is representing Bros. I don't know who's going to be representing it, but anyway. So we've got Dyer versus Christanthou. So it was on the 2nd of February. We know that they had to pay court costs. Now, it has been put through that the orders. So these are the orders. The orders made by Thorley J. On the 11th of June 2021 and Register Luxton on the 19th of January 2022, the effect of which is to require the respondents to pay the assessed on a lump sum basis of the amount of $430,200. So that was what was decided on 19th of January. Be temporarily stayed pending the outcome of an appeal and cross-appeal filed by respondents in respective judgments and orders of Thorley J. Appeal pending, subject to the following conditions. So at the moment, they have a stay on the payment. Now, here are the conditions. The sum of $430,200 is to be paid into a trust account of the first respondent's solicitors, Kennedy's, by 4 p.m. the 4th of February 2022. So that would have already happened. Subject to any further order of the court, Kennedy's are not to release those funds from the trust account before 5 p.m. on the day of the delivery of judgment in the appeal proceeding. And if the appeal proceeding is resolved in favour of the applicant, the funds are to be paid to at the direction of the applicant within 48 hours of the time referred in, or resolved in the favour of the respondents, be paid into the direction of the respondents. Does not resolve the question of costs wholly in favour of any parties. The funds are to be paid or released in accordance with orders of the courts as agreed to the parties. The respondents pay the applicant's costs of the respondent's interlocutory application heard on the 2nd of February. Now, so essentially the money is sitting in the bank account of Sue Christanthou's lawyers. Okay, so after the appeal is heard, if the appeal goes in Dyer's favour, they have to release the money within 48 hours. If it's resolved in Christanthou and Porter's favour, then the money goes back to them. However, the costs for this hearing, for this application, Joanne Dyer's costs, are to be paid for by the respondents. Now, he talks about his reasons. So it's revised from transcript. Now, there is a really interesting reason why he talks about the costs. The only remaining issue concerns the cost of the stay application. While Mr. Porter and Ms. Christanthou have succeeded in obtaining a stay of the lump sum cost order, the stay is on more limited terms. The terms of the stays largely mirror the terms of the undertaking openly offered by Ms. Dyer upon being informed of the stay application. Also relevant is the fact the stay application was filed very late in the piece, with the result that had to be determined as a matter of urgency by the duty judge. So they didn't file the paperwork till very late. And it was, so no explanation was given for the delay in seeking the stay. In all circumstances, it is appropriate to order Mr. Porter and Ms. Christanthou pay Ms. Dyer's costs of the stay applications as agreed or assessed. So essentially, because they left it very, very late to put the application in, and it would seem that it could possibly prejudice Dyer, the judge has awarded the costs for this to be. So here is the appeal. So we've got Charles Porter versus Joanne Dyer. So we've got a cross appeal filed by Sue Christanthou. Now, this is where it gets really, really interesting. So you've got your notice of appeal, which happened on the 24th of June. Affidavit, interlocutory applications, submissions, right? So there was a case management hearing in October. There was another one in November. There was a administrative listing in December. This is where we get interesting. It's going to the full court hearing on the 20th and 21st of April. So this is for Christanthou and Porter. Now, Christanthou is also representing, she's also going to be busy for, looks like, she's represented by Kennedy's law firm. Porter's represented by Giles, and hang on. That's wrong. Oh, no. She's represented by Mark Lawyers. So he's the appellate. So Christanthou, although she's not running her, because she's not going to represent herself, but she's got lawyers that she's got to brief. She's also working on the Bros matter. So she's going to be very, very busy, very, very busy lady, because she's going to have to probably look at some documentation. So there's been some submissions put in on the 4th of February in relation to that. But I just wanted to just give you an update that the moment there is a stay on that application, Sue likes to sue, I think so. Well, she likes the Liberal Party, it would seem, because they like to sue. But they've still got to pay her costs. So by the end of April, we will know what they're saying is what the judge is saying is that possibly, while there is some fact suggestion that the outcome of any such review should be that no costs would be payable, the reality is that the best case scenario is that they get a reduced cost. The fact is, it says. It is true, counsel for Mr. Porter and Ms. Christanthou submitted that Ms. Dyer had not adduced any evidence of her financial position in opposition of the stay. She did not, however, bear any onus in respect of the stay, nor should any adverse inference be drawn for her for not giving that information. The evidence relied on by Mr. Porter and Ms. Christanthou was flimsy and scarcely compelled Ms. Dyer to respond. The delay in Mr. Porter and Ms. Christanthou filing their stay application and the urgency in which those applications were brought before the court gave Ms. Dyer little, if any, time to file any evidence, let alone acceptable evidence of her financial position. So it sounds like they've messed up. They've messed up. So, yes, he's granted the stay, but the money still has to be paid in trust. So it's sitting there ready. And if, by chance, Dyer wins this appeal, this is the thing. I mean, they could end up having to pay her appeal costs as well. It could be a lot worse for them. Hello, Kylie-Ann. How are you? So they could end up having to pay more fees. So, but anyway, that's just the update on that case. Now, has everyone seen Friendly Geordie's video today? That was pretty compelling. Talk about compelling. Well, a lawyer hey, imagine she went berserk when, over the fact that, Friendly Geordie's, if you remember, like, she was going berserk about timelines and everything like that, and yet they filed their documentation really late in the matter. So it's very bizarre. She'd probably blame the law firm, but still. So did anyone see Friendly Geordie's new video? That was pretty compelling, in my opinion. That was about fixated persons unit, and then did anybody in Australia watch 60 Minutes? No, I haven't, and I was going to do a live reaction, but based on what I'm reading about it, I might end up getting sick. That'd be like me not being able to install Windows. I've heard lots of things about it, and I've not watched it, but I've got lots to say on the matter. But I'm based on what I've read of what people have and what people have been talking about. But no, I haven't. I didn't watch the 60 Minutes. As I said, it was if what is true. Hi, Joe. Getting sick would be a live reaction. Yes, it was. Hello, hello, Mama Duke. I had to go for a very long walk. Hello, Meemaw. Yeah, look, I've heard lots of things about that 60-minute thing. I mean, I still can't get over the footage of the ukulele. And the really stupid thing is I had that song stuck in my head and I was singing it, which was really bad. But if what is said is true, and I mean, I've seen the headlines today that Mrs. Morrison is very disappointed about Grace Tame, snubbing the Prime Minister and that. Well, I'm really disappointed that her husband cannot protect women or has a little interest in protecting women in the workforce, or thinks that it's a non-issue. When she goes, and when people say mean things about her husband, and she goes, but we've got children. Hello, they're daughters. Wouldn't you as a father want to make sure that your children would be safe, your daughters would be safe? Making sure that there are laws in place to make sure that your daughters are safe. Well, the ABC, I heard the ratings. It didn't do as well as they had hoped. The ABC actually outranked. The ABC outranked Channel 9. Vera, is it Vera? Vera outranked. All right, so here we go. This is from tvtonight.com.au. Let's have a look at the ratings. All righty. So, 7 News was still the highest. Then Married at First Sight. Then 9 News. Vera, 587,000. 198,000 in Australia watched. Then the ABC News. Then Mustard Dog. So ABC, 60 Minutes came in at number 7, 574,000. There was 174,000 in Sydney, 175,000 in Melbourne, 110,000 in Brisbane, 64,000 in Adelaide, and 51,000 in Perth. So it came in at number 7, which they wanted it to be up higher. So, but the ABC beat them, 580. So Vera, that was what was on the same time. Vera, in fact, more people watched Vera in Melbourne than watched 60 Minutes. So 587,000. So only New South Wales did it. New South Wales and Brisbane 60 Minutes outbeat the ABC, but the ABC overall came in top for that. So so that was pretty, I mean, that's pretty good. So yeah, that they're saying they're not very happy that 60 Minutes didn't do so good, but I'm happy that I was put off. I was really, so the top 20 programs, I was really put off by the ads, actually. So yeah. Hello, Bo. Hello, everybody that's just come in. So the ABC actually did a story on it. It's really interesting. So they called it, what did the ABC call it? Disappointing. 60. So this is from the ABC. So let's have a look at this today. Let's have a look. So it says, Jenny Morrison says Frosty Grace Tame meeting was disappointing. Now, there's another thing that I need to correct Jenny Morrison on. Does the ABC have to send a thank you note to 60 Minutes? Probably. Jenny Morrison talks about, see, it says Jenny Morrison's 60 Minutes Fallout. That's what it was called. Jenny Morrison talks about the fact that Grace Tame was in her house. Mrs. Morrison, the lodge is owned by the taxpayers of Australia. You're in our home. I'd just like to say that. All right, so let's have a watch of this.
The Prime Minister Scott Morrison faces a tough battle in the polls later this year and has been hard at work campaigning alongside his wife Jenny.
And it's interesting that they're saying that he's out campaigning already. He hasn't even called the election. When is it? So he's trying to get a jump on campaigning without calling the election, which is a bit cheeky.
During an interview with 60 Minutes last night, Jenny Morrison gave her take on some controversial moments during her husband's time in office, including that frosty exchange at the lodge with the former Australian of the Year, Grace Tame. Noor Hayder's at Parliament House for us this morning. Noor, good morning. Mrs. Morrison says she's disappointed with Grace Tame.
Yeah, good morning, Michael. Well, it's not uncommon for politicians to participate in these sort of staged interviews or profiles, particularly at this point of an election cycle. You could say that last night's interview was an attempt by the Prime Minister to rehabilitate his image or reputation, given the government is lagging in the polls. And we saw the Prime Minister playing the ukulele and cooking curry, but it was his wife, Jenny Morrison, that took centre stage during the interview. And she acknowledged that the family's holiday to Hawaii during the 2020 catastrophic bushfires was a bad look, and she said that she's sorry for disappointing people. She also said that she felt sick to her stomach when those damaging texts were leaked earlier this month, describing the Prime Minister as a complete psycho.
As I said, he's a public servant, he's a politician, and yeah. But it's interesting, no one's actually come out and said that what was said was not right.
And she also addressed that interaction between the Prime Minister and former Australian of the Year Grace Tame that took place at the Lodge last month. And Mrs Morrison described it as disappointing, and she suggested that Miss Tame, who is a survivor of child sexual abuse, should have been more polite when arriving at the Lodge. Take a listen to what she had to say.
Oh, yeah, she needs to be more polite, even though her husband's, yeah, all right, whatever.
I just found it a little bit disappointing because we'll welcome you in our home.
Not your home, Mrs. Morrison. It's not your home. It's the taxpayer's home.
People that want to change things, stand up for their beliefs and are strong, but I still think there's manners and respect.
Really? There's a footage going around, clip going around on Twitter today of Tanya Plebiscite talking about talking about issues involving women and the Prime Minister having his back turned.
I want my daughters to grow up to be fierce, strong, independent, amazing people. And I think they can still do that and show kindness to other people and be polite and have manners.
So in other words, you're saying they're not to be like their father. I remember when he first won the leadership, a member of the LNP described him as a... Actually, there was somebody on Twitter who went to school with him, and he's saying they would love to... They talked about that he was not a very nice person as a young man.
Jenny Morrison on 60 Minutes, and the government law is, meanwhile, attempting to pivot the conversation to the economy.
Yeah, it's been a messy fortnight for the coalition with those damaging texts against the Prime Minister, leaks from Cabinet, and the defeat of the government's religious discrimination bill. And today we've seen a new survey showing that confidence in the federal government has fallen to its lowest level since those bushfires back in 2019-2020. This study by ANU shows that only 1/3 of Australians have a lot of confidence in the federal government. So I guess it's not surprising that the federal government is attempting to pivot the conversation to more comfortable territory, that is the economy. Today, the Treasurer Josh Frydenberg has been out this morning saying that young women are better off under the government's tax cuts. According to analysis released by Treasury, the amount of tax paid by women under the age of 24 has declined by more than 20%. The Treasurer has also...
Oh, that's, yeah. The Treasurer... Oh, you mean he's out and about, Josh Frydenberg? I thought he was still hiding.
This morning refused to sort of comment on where the government's standing in relation to these low and middle income tax offsets. Now, he says that the government hasn't yet made a decision whether that tax break will be extended next financial year. Of course, the budget is only some weeks away. Take a listen to what he had to say.
We haven't made a decision about the low and middle income tax offset, but we have legislated significant structural reform as well as bringing forward stage 2 of the tax cuts, and that is already seeing money roll out into people's pockets, particularly, as you said at the top of the program.
Everybody in Australia, have you had money rolling into your pockets? Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe I need to find the bigger pocket. Actually, what I'm wearing doesn't have pockets at the moment. I better go find something and put pockets on. So I can have money rolling into my pockets.
Cuts, and that is already seeing money roll out into people's pockets, particularly, as you said at the top of the program, for young
I thought money went into a bank, not pockets.
people and for young women.
The Treasurer, Josh Frydenberg. Oh, thank you.
Okay, that's where I've gone wrong. I've been putting money in. I've been going to the bank looking for money. I should be checking my pockets. money into their mates' pockets. I crack myself up sometimes. Sorry. Yeah, we don't exist. That's right. We don't exist. Oh, dear me. Oh. But apparently money's rolling into our pockets. Oh, dearie me. Oh, wow, that's good, Bo. Wow, look at this. Guess whose Instagram we're on? Narcissists, cults, her couch. Oh, look. Hot Wheels. Can you remember when somebody's Instagram post used to be fun? Well, here's the thing. There was another motion where she said that her husband, it was his job, and the family's getting dragged into it. Now she's appeared on 60 Minutes. Does that make her fair game now for being held accountable for what she says? I think it does. Well, and don't forget, there's all the images of him standing beside Turnbull and saying, "Here's my prime minister. I'm loyal to him," etc., etc., etc. And then he went and stabbed him in the back. So, welfare checks running the measures. Well, that's what they want you. That's what they want you to believe. JB Hi-Fi, is it JB Hi-Fi that so one of the big corporations is giving their managed to get bonuses for their shareholders? Jared Haynes, if you remember, Jared Haynes was he was convicted on SA charges. He's actually just had those convictions quashed today, over yesterday. When was this? This was 48 minutes ago. Wins appeal. So he's won his appeal against his SA convictions. He was found guilty of 2 charges of SA, a woman in her bedroom on the night of the 2018 NRL Grand Final. In 2021, he was given the maximum sentence of 5 years and 2 months with a non-parole period of 3 years and 8 months. A 3-judge panel in New South Wales Court of Criminal Appeal upheld some of his grounds for appeal and quashed his conviction. He now will face a retrial. So looks like he's going to be free while they sort out a retrial. So he served 9 months of a 5-year sentence. The appeal was based on inconsistent evidence, the legal team said. Well, didn't he talk about, Swollen Pickle did a really good video about Scott ScoMo saying that he never lied. Let's use, let's pull this up because this was quite shocking, actually. I found this to be, let's have a look at this. So this is Swollen Pickle. I'll put the link. Make sure you like and subscribe to Swollen Pickle. It's called The Fibs, Furbies and Tall Tales of ScoMo.
Oh boy, this could be a long video. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel and dropping a like or a comment. It's free and really helps the channel.
Prime Minister, we're talking Prime Minister Scott Morrison. You ever told a lie in public life?
I don't believe I have. No.
Let's see. Apparently, he says he's never told a lie.
Scott Morrison asked again whether he stood by his denial of ever lying to the Australian public.
That's what I believe to be true. And what are you suggesting? When do you think I did?
So
He doesn't believe, what do you say? That's what I believe to be true. So if we believe something to be true, it means that it's true. Is that right?
Scott Morrison believes that he has never told a lie in public life. Let's roll the tape.
Minister, why was it racist to question Gladys Liu's connections to China, but it wasn't racist to call Sam Dusty Orange Shanghai Sam?
I didn't use either of those phrases, so.
So that was 2019.
It's about Shanghai Sam, and he's got to go.
I didn't use that, but here's all the evidence.
Shanghai Sam. Shanghai Sam. Shanghai Sam. Shanghai Sam.
I swear this should be the opposition parties. All they need is this video.
Leadership ambitions, anyone?
Can you rule out having any leadership ambitions?
Me?
Yeah.
This is my leader.
There you go.
And I'm ambitious for him.
Yeah, good on you. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, ScoMo.
2 days later.
Good afternoon. As you're all aware, there was a ballot conducted in the party room for the leadership of the Liberal Party. The successful candidate was Scott Morrison.
Oh, he's lied to me on many occasions. I mean, there's quite a few examples in my book. But Scott has always had a reputation for telling lies. I mean, you're all in the press gallery, right? You know that.
That I think right there is your soundbite for the election campaign.
For telling lies. I mean, you're all in the press gallery, right? You know that.
Australia Post.
She's been instructed to stand aside, and if she doesn't wish to do that, Mr. Speaker, she can go. Ms. Holgate decided to leave Australia Post. That's just a matter of record.
Yeah, I did put the link for that. I did do it. You have linked this, Joanne. Yes. Here it is again. I watched this last night and I laughed.
Ooh-wee, electric vehicle.
But I didn't. That is just a label lie. It's not going to tell your trailer. It's not going to tell your boat. It's not going to get you out to your favourite camping spot with your family. Bill Shorten wants to end the weekend when it comes to his policy on electric vehicles.
Prime Minister, you can't honestly say you weren't attacking electric vehicles and it was just Bill Shorten's policy.
No, I can, because that's true. It's not going to tell your trailer. It's not going to tell your boat.
That statement was not true in 2019. Need proof?
It's not going to tell your trailer. It's not going to tell your boat.
But it will tow a Boeing 7879 Dreamliner.
It's not going to tell your trailer. It's not going to tell your boat.
no expert, but I suggest if you can tow a plane, you can tow a trailer.
It's not going to tow your trailer. It's not going to tow your boat.
19 on 2GB, you said, what about all these charging stations? How much is that going to cost? I mean, if you have an electric car and you live in an apartment, are you going to run the extension cord down to your fourth floor window? Yet now, today, you're focusing on infrastructure. So you have to admit it's a fairly big conversion you've made.
What we're seeing here is a massive change in the technology over the last few years. Yes, a massive change. There's been a massive change in technology over the last few years.
In short, according to the Chief Executive of the Electric Vehicle Council, there have been no significant changes to electric vehicle technology in the past 3 years.
It's a massive backflip, isn't it? What changed your view? It was almost a come to Jesus moment for you.
Well, Bill Shorten and the Labor Party wanted to force people to do this. And I still don't want to do that.
Prime Minister, the Labor Party weren't forcing people, were they? It wasn't a mandate at the last election that they were introducing. It was a non-binding target of 50%. Wasn't that the same as yours?
Well, no, they were going to put up the price of fuel.
I mean, what is really embarrassing is that this is the person that's running our country.
Submarines. On September 16, 2021, Morrison sparked an international diplomatic incident.
Professor Poopy Butthole isn't the biggest elite. I don't know, Bo.
Noted we will not be continuing with the attack class submarine program and advise the Val Group and, of course, the government of France and President Macron of that decision.
Clearly, this did not go over well with France, with the French president accusing Morrison of lying.
Can you trust Scott Morrison again? Can you trust Scott Morrison again?
We discussed. I do respect.
Can you trust him though?
I mean, we will see what he will deliver.
Do you think he lied to you?
I don't think. I know.
I don't think I know.
We discussed. I do respect.
Can you trust him though?
I mean, we will see what he will deliver.
Do you think he lied to you?
I don't think. I know. I don't think. No.
In return, there was a text message leak, which has gone on to become a common theme in the Morrison government.
The ambassador to Australia says that relations are now at an unprecedented low because personal messages between you and President Macron were leaked.
Well, I was very, very clear about what that communication was, and that was necessary, given the matters that were raised.
The media played up budget blowouts and delays. In September 2021, the French claimed they had been deceived and had received assurances from Australia on the day the deal would end up being cancelled. Finally, in February 2022, documents released under Freedom of Information appear to prove what the French were saying was true.
An email from Defence Secretary Greg Moriarty to Greg Samet in the submarine program thanked him for a comprehensive update on the contract.
I will ensure that the good progress to date is part of the advice we take to government, and you will hear that message repeated in the 2+2 with France and in other engagements. Regards, Greg.
The officials noted French shipbuilder Naval was working well with the Commonwealth.
I think that should be the that could be the slogan. Hey, I don't think I know. Morrison is a liar. I don't think I know. That is a good
line. And that the updated cost estimate was $46 billion within the $50 billion budget. Malcolm Turnbull, what do these documents tell us that we didn't know about the submarine deal with the French?
Well, they confirmed that the submarine program for the new attack class submarines was on track, was in good shape, was progressing well, and was well within its budget. Now, that's completely different to what the Australian government told the American government, whom they told it was blowing its budget and it was off the rails. And it was completely different to what was written up in the media constantly.
And of course, that's former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, who Scott Morrison rolled, is now
it
isn't doing much to help ScoMo get back in.
basically confirms the French, as a result of what you're saying, had every reason to believe that they'd been lied to, particularly at the 2+2 meeting.
Yes, the French, absolutely. The French were misled by Australia, which is shameful, and the Americans were misled by Australia, as Joe Biden demonstrated when he made it quite clear publicly to President Macron that he had been led to believe that the French were aware that the project was going to be cancelled.
And this gift keeps on giving. Back before he was Prime Minister, Scott Morrison appeared on an episode of Q&A, expressing his thoughts on the news that the Victorian police chief at the time of the Black Saturday bushfires had gone to dinner at a restaurant while...
Oh yes, remember the police commissioner was out for dinner while the fires were happening? Yeah. That's funny. That's actually really quite funny, Bo. Do you remember his criticism?
The fires were burning.
Let's hear from Scott Morrison on this.
Look, that was a very big event. She's clearly made a bad judgment call. That happens to people from time to time, but this was a very serious issue, and I think there are very serious concerns in the community about exercising judgment. And it's incumbent on all of us in public life to make decisions following that in the best interests of the ongoing nature of the program.
Almost 10 years later, Morrison would find himself running the country during one of the worst fire seasons on record. With half of Australia on fire, the country was looking for a leader. Unfortunately, that wasn't to be the Prime Minister, because no one knew where he was.
We were going, where is he? Where's the Prime Minister? Where's the Prime Minister?
Sorry saga kicked off when New South Wales Greens MP, David Shoebridge, tweeted questioning where the Prime Minister was and sharing a rumor that the PM was in Hawaii. Obviously, this led to questions.
So everybody, how are you?
Do you remember that? That was the ad, but that came back. And that was one of ScoMo's ads too.
Obviously, this led to questions.
So everybody, how are you?
At first, the Prime Minister's office denied he was on holidays. Then, once it was clear that he was holidaying, his office denied that he was holidaying in Hawaii.
So first of all, they denied he was holidaying, which he was, and then denied he was holidaying in Hawaii, which he was. And so you've got to question everything that comes out of the Prime Minister's office.
Remember, at this point in time, half of Australia was on fire. Finally, a few days after the saga began, airport sources confirmed Morrison had jetted off to Hawaii.
The Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, is getting hammered tonight for quietly going on a holiday to Hawaii while large parts of the nation burn.
Cue the photos on social media. The man himself called 2GB to confirm he was in Hawaii and left the country with this little soundbite.
I know Australians understand this, and they'll be pleased I'm coming back, I'm sure, but they know that, I don't hold a hose, mate.
Let's skip forward a couple of years.
When my...
I don't hold a hose, mate. That is one of his famous quotes.
Electorate was burning. The Prime Minister's office told journalists he was not on holiday in Hawaii. Why did the Prime Minister's office say that when it wasn't true?
I can only speak to what I have said, Mr. Speaker, and as the Leader of the Opposition will know, because I texted him from the plane when I was going on that leave and told him where I was going, and he was fully aware of where I was travelling with my family.
Mr. Speaker, that is not true. On the 15th of December 2019 at 9:44 p.m, the Prime Minister did text me saying he was going on leave. He did not tell me where he was going. He said he was going with his family. I kept that text message confidential, as you do with private text messages between private phones.
Yeah,
and on the Friday, he disclosed in an interview with 2GB that he had texted me, and that was the first time that became public. But at no stage did he tell me where he was going.
And that was with the QAnon friends, wasn't it? That was with the people associated with QAnon. if I remember rightly.
Yeah, there was this palaver.
It's a report in the Wall Street Journal that an invitation was sought to the White House for Hillsong pastor Brian Houston, a friend of yours, and that was knocked back. Can you tell us what happened?
I don't comment on gossip, honestly.
So it's not true.
It's all gossip.
Did you actually put a request in for him
I don't comment on gossip of stories about other stories.
Does that mean it's not true, though?
It means it's gossip.
But not true?
It means it's gossip.
But not true?
I think I've answered the question.
It relates to your trip to Washington last year and whether or not you asked the Trump administration to invite the Hillsong founder Brian Houston to the White House state dinner. Did you seek an invitation to the White House state dinner for Brian Houston?
Well, I've known Brian for a long time, and Hillsong Church has a very big network of churches all across the United States. On that occasion, we put forward a number of names. That included Brian, but not everybody whose names were put forward were invited.
Vaccines. Jeepers. Remember March 2021? When Morrison was asked about the pace of the vaccination rollout, he'd quite often unleash this little beauty.
It's not a race. It's not a competition. Race. It's not a competition. It's not a race. You got to get it right. It's got to be safe. It's not a race. It's not a competition.
Months.
QAnon and Hillsong. This guy keeps such. I know that's the whole point. And there is also questions of how Brian Houston got to go to the US just before there was news of the fact he was going to be charged. So that's really quite interesting as well.
It's not a race. It's not a competition. Race. It's not a competition. It's not a race. You got to get it right. It's got to be safe. It's not a race. It's not a competition.
Months later, with the vaccine rollout becoming a strollout, Morrison was trying to rewrite history.
Earlier in this pandemic, you said the vaccine rollout was not a race. Now you're saying it's like a gold medal run at the Olympics. If you treated it as a race from the start, would we be in this mess?
When Professor Murphy and I made those remarks, we were talking about the regulation of the vaccines, Nat. I don't know.
Apparently, we all are misunderstood. We don't understand.
I'm sure I'm pretty well aware of that. I know my critics have used them against me, but we've always been treating this with the greatest of urgency. Well, no, we were talking, as I said, about the regulation of the vaccines.
Trying to argue that, all through March he was referring to regulations and making sure the vaccines went through the proper approvals, is laughable. Particularly given that Morrison himself issued a media release on January 25, 2021, declaring that the Pfizer vaccine had been approved. AstraZeneca was then approved a couple of weeks later on February 16th. So on the 31st of March, when he was still spouting this.
It's not a race. It's not a competition.
The vaccine had been approved for months and was already in use. In fact, Morrison himself was one of the first in line for the jab.
Now, isn't that interesting? I tell you what, whoever Swollen Pickles is a legend. They have systematically gone through and, as I said, debunked a lot of what he said. Funny that he got jabbed in February 2021, and most of us couldn't get it.
The Federal Anti-Corruption Commission. There was a big announcement and a promise in December 2018. Then we waited, and waited, and waited. The opposition got tired of waiting.
It is now more than 1,000 days since Scott Morrison promised to have a national anti-corruption body. Well, tick-tock, Mr. Morrison. We need a national anti-corruption commission, one with teeth, one that operates independently of government, is able to conduct its own inquiries. And if you won't give the Australian people one, a federal Labor government will do just that.
Then February 7th, 2022, we are told that a Federal Integrity Commission will have to wait until after the election. When someone says that they will do something, but don't deliver, is that technically a lie? Maybe not, but it should raise some trust issues. Did I miss your favorite Skomokio Furphy? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Pickles out.
So yeah, so that is Swollen Pickles. So people are now giving them other stuff. Someone says what is laughable is that he lies when he doesn't even have to. He could have simply said, I've changed my mind so many times, but instead he tries to pretend he never said it. Who else do we know that does that? So here is some of the stuff that he's done. Shake and bake with ScoMo. There was a... he was responsible for all the Gladys remix as well. The Gladys stuff. We looked at that one yesterday. That was pretty. In fact, let's look at it again because yeah, it's already. If you missed it yesterday, this is the April Sun Horror remix. So says Swollen Pickle says, I had this song stuck in my head. Scott Morrison massacring April Sun for the 60 Minutes promo won't leave me. Here's my remix imagining it's the remix the world never asked for and probably doesn't deserve. Think of it as my attempt at polishing a turd. That said, I did have to knock this out pretty quick, so I'm not sure that I could say it's polished. Yes, I know he's playing out of time. Is that our furniture in the lodge?
You know what they say, if you try to polish a turd, you're bound to get some shit on you. I need a shower after that. Pickles out.
There you go. That was Pickles. So yes, so that's Swollen Pickles. So that is I'll give you the link again for the last video, but Swollen Pickles is very, very clever. A lot cleverer than I can be. And make sure you like and subscribe Swollen Pickles, because particularly as we are getting close to an election, Swollen Pickles may be helping us get through it all. So quite interesting. So is there anything else anybody wants to talk about while we're here, while I'm on? This has just come out of the Senate Estimates Committee. This is I heard about this. Due to the amount of corruption from the LNP will kill unemployment. No, other than that, her Instagram's just crazy. More than $500,000 was spent providing Airbnb rentals around Canberra last year to quarantine just 72 federal government officials returning from overseas. The government has defended the cost of the rentals, arguing it was left with few options as it attempted to meet very strict ACT quarantine requirements. Of course. The staff travelled abroad late last year with Prime Minister, Foreign Minister and Defence Minister, and were required to quarantine in Canberra on their return. Well, it could have actually been saved if the Prime Minister, Foreign Minister and Defence Minister stayed in Australia, like the rest of us had to do. Department of Home Affairs officials say they were forced to turn to Airbnb for accommodation when ACT government ceased providing quarantine options last year due to concerns about the increased risk of the Omicron virus. I was thinking after slow-mo, KJ would be nice to. While home quarantine was an option for some, when it was not possible, alternate accommodation had to be found. Accommodation at the Australian National University had previously been used but was no longer made available as of August last year. In evidence to Senate estimates today, Home Affairs officials said the ACT government told them to find properties that were freestanding with independent access to the building and no shared facilities for things like parking or rubbish. Though despite quarantine only lasting 2 weeks, properties were rented for 11 weeks. What? Why did they need it for 11 weeks? Well, the Fox, didn't they use in that town in New South Wales? They got those little minivans, camper vans that they used. That was so that they could be prepared as home offices with necessary security, and an ACT requirement they be rented for 4 weeks post-quarantine in case a person tested positive and needed to remain longer. So 4 weeks, 11 weeks. The total cost of quarantining 72 ministerial staffers and government officials came to $522,067. Sorry. Home Affairs Deputy Secretary Justine Saunders said cheaper options were explored but rejected. Of course. Of course they were. We explored hotels and apartments knowing they would be lower cost options, but they weren't agreed by the ACT government due to higher COVID risk, she said. The other option we explored was for officers to share facilities, noting they were homes. That wasn't agreed in all instances. So it's the ACT government's fault, obviously. So as a result of our understanding of the demand and meeting ACT government requirements, the option was agreed to by the ACT government and Home Affairs as the most suitable was properties that could be identified through Airbnb. One of the properties rented through Airbnb was owned by a senior Home Affairs officer. Oh, no conflict there. Home Affairs officials, was owned by a senior Home Affairs officer who personally raised concerns about the arrangements. Home Affairs officials told the Estimates Committee they inquired about the property through Airbnb platform, not knowing who the owner of the property was. However, how come the owner was able, the Home Affairs officer, a first assistant secretary, received the request and worked out it was coming from his own department and raised concerns about a potential conflict of interest. While he initially declined the request, Ms. Saunders said Home Affairs had no other option but to take it up. The advice I've had is that at that time, there was actually no other properties available. That was the only suitable property at this time. The total cost of renting the property was $15,981 between September and November last year. During the hearing, Labor Senator Raf Cicerone expressed his surprise that Home Affairs went ahead with the rental. I find it amazing that out of all the ACT, there was only one property that fit the bill, and it just happened to be owned by a First Assistant Secretary or somebody of that ilk, he said. You can't make this stuff up. Home Affairs Secretary Mike Pezzillo said a report had been completed into matter, and while he's still considering, his early indications indicate that nothing untoward occurred. Prima facie, on the face of the fact that the officer himself self-identified, I'm satisfied that unless something else comes to my notice, there was proper conduct engaged in. Had the officer sought to disguise the fact, had the officer not drawn it to the attention of his superior, had the officer not volunteered to opt out of the program, I might have had a different view. Next, we're going to find out that they all had to stay in Queanbeyan on Bruzz's property because there was no other property available. Like, really? Oh, that is unbelievable. Well, so they're blaming the ACT for their accommodation issues. Why couldn't they all have bunked in with the lodge with ScoMo? Oh boy, that is $500,000 on Airbnb. They booked them for 11 weeks, only needing them for 2 weeks. Do you know how many people they could have provided housing to with that money? Seriously. Need the dates again. September to November, was it? And the prices had to be tripled to account for this. Of course. Of course the prices had to go up. It's unbelievable. I just don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand it all myself. Oh, it's crazy, hey? Anyway, on that note, I'm going to love you all and leave you all. On that note, that just, yeah, so, yes, off-peak time. Yes, it's not peak time. I still can't get my head around the fact that that there was only one Airbnb that they could rent. One Airbnb that they could rent, and it just happened to belong to a senior official of Home Affairs. That is really bizarre. That is really, really bizarre. I find that really hard to believe. Anyway, so I'm going to love you all and leave you all. I might try and get on again tomorrow, maybe around a similar time. Hey, Joe, have you seen the new FJ? Yes, I did see the new FJ video. I'm going to give you all a link to that because that talks about fixated persons unit and a little bit more. It's called Politician Protection Racket. It's really quite, how a politician's son was able to get somebody arrested. Yeah, so this is another one. I want you to go look at this one. This one's Friendly Doherty's new video. Make sure you like and subscribe to that as well. Yeah, Friendly Doherty's and Swollen Pickles are the two that I'd like you to do. One of the politicians was upset that, yeah, it's just really weird how they get really upset. But it seems to all link back, all roads lead back to Bruz, it would seem, and the fixated persons unit. That's all I'll say. So, right, have an account on YouTube, it's taking them up. Yeah. So, and the thing is that one politician that's the politician's son that uses the fixated Persons Unit 4 there again is a Labor politician, and then you've got the National Party politician. You've got Braz. So both sides of Parliament are mucking around at the moment. Anyway, I want to thank you all for joining me. Yeah, and I will catch you again next time. There'll be still uploads, but we'll see what happens. And yeah, I'll catch you again soon. Thank you for watching. Make sure you hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.